the whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I've Mendel normally said he could make it.
Don't think this whole Phil, credit to the guy, he's always managed to do well way out, but he is a shocking person. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-event.
No. Well, that's from Richard Mendel.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. We have our last September episode of the season already. It's hard to quantify really, isn't it, Chris?
Always,
yeah, it always flies by, but that's
Always.
fine because you've got us for the whole season yet still, and Chris is back as the co-host, of course. How's it going, Chris?
Always, always. Yeah, all good here. Yeah, it's good to be back broadcasting once again on such a Friday. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think we looked at the rundown last week and we thought to ourselves, quite a low scoring week.
Yeah.
Was it? No, it was not.
Yeah, you allude on to that quite nicely because we'll just I had some comments about that before we got into the detailed recap. So yeah, we'll go straight on to the recap. So to do that, we need the jingle. I cannot find the news jingle to take us in. There it is. There we go. There you go. On to the week 3 recap. So yeah, like you said, it was a good week on a whole. So just scanning across all the games here, we had a couple of games that featured both teams with 100-point scores, and all but one of the games had at least one 100-point team in it. So it was a good week on the whole. And actually, there wasn't really a great deal of injuries last week as well. Certainly only one serious one, which we'll obviously come on to when we get to it. But no, it was a good week all around, as you say. And we'll start off with what we had as the marquee matchup, which was Ben Necessities against Ixan. Obviously, Ben Necessities looking one of the better teams of the year so far. Ixan's been quite injury-beleaguered, as we know, but still been chugging along despite that. And Ben Necessities, laying a marker down with a week high score, in fact. So a good choice for the marquee matchup of the week. It was the highest scoring game on the docket, I think, as well for the week, I believe. Yeah, I think so. 127 to 101 in favour of Bare Necessities, which now brings Bare Necessities' record against Ben to 7-12 all time, because you'll recall, similar to me, Ben seems to own the Stubbses, but it's not been a good week for a couple of weeks for Ben against the Stubbses, because that's 2 L's to a Stubbs in a row. It's probably the first time that's ever happened in LOC history.
It's
based on the records,
there,
and just what I picked out of the interesting notes of this game, because of course we try and focus on just the interesting talking points other than just trawling through the scores. But Ben Necessities, as you called it, seemed to be legit. Now they were bailed out, or not bailed out, I should say. The difference in this game really was the Bills' defense.
Absolutely.
The 36 points there. But beyond that, it's, even if they had the same score as the Saints 11. Obviously, it's a much closer game. Ben Necessities would have still taken it, and it's still a good result by by my dad's team. So yeah, my dad's team's looking pretty solid, isn't it?
I would say so. I think we knew that at the beginning of the season it would be, it would always be that sort of solid team. He always drafts well. Added Nakua in there. You're dead right though. That is the analysis here. There is a hair's breadth between this team. And Ixan, apart from the Bills D, which did have someday.
And then just elsewhere in this game, so Ixan again. I mean, Ben put up a solid score last week when he obviously had a complete myriad of injury issues against me, and he's gone over 100 points again with pretty much the same injury issues with Jones, Eckler and Watson obviously all missing this game again. So I mean, he could really be a team to look out for once he gets fully healthy. I think
so, yeah. Big time players. But and even the guys that we wrote off last week, like Madison, came in and had a great game. Had it without a touchdown as well. 12.5 points without a touchdown. So you can't really go wrong with that.
And somehow miraculously without a fumble, recorded fumble at least. Anyway. He was
Indeed.
trying to. But yeah, I do question how long it is until Ben gets away from the ghost of Alexander Madison, because it breaks my heart, because I obviously really wanted him pronounced on draft day, and I thought he would be legit, but I think it's just that O-line is that bad, and I think he's a good running back, but he's not the kind of running back that's going to overcome a bad O-line like that. So, and Evans continues to look like a steal as well. This was the hardest matchup the Bucs had faced all year long, and he still came through with 60 yards and a touch. So, Dad gets the win. He goes to 2-1. Meanwhile, Ben loses 2 on the trot, falling to 1-2. So we're going to the next game, which is arguably the other next best game on the docket. But like I said, there were a few good ones. This was the closest of the week, though, with Great Scott taking on the Dream Team. I think both these teams were coming in off of a loss as well. Oh, by the way, we both picked better necessities in the pick, so we got that one off to a good start this week. And we both picked the Dream Team here as well, so we're clean 2-0 to start with.
Better than last week.
Yep, and Jeff clearly just absolutely loves a Monday night comeback because he tried to do it again with Jamar Chase just coming up. You can see 4 and a bit points short there, losing to the Dream Team 114 to 110. Obviously, first time they've played each other as well. I mean, Jeff's team, it's a bit schizophrenic. Obviously, Lawrence hasn't been firing. I think he needs to get away from Jahmyr Gibbs, though. This was obviously Montgomery didn't play, and he still only came through with 8.2 here. So I think it's quite clear now. And we'll obviously come on to the previews. We have the Thursday night game last night, so we'll cover that in a bit. But he's obviously not coming anywhere close to that third round draft pick that he spent on him. But where that fails, he did take Mostert in something like the 8th or 9th round, who got 38 points.
Wow.
In that absolute drubbing. And before you think, wow, that's great, he also had A-Chan on his bench.
Yeah, 47. So he's got that two-headed monster to deal with going forward, and I think that going to play them both would be an interesting call at this stage.
Would have paid off last week for sure. Not often you drop 70 points on another team in the NFL, as we know.
Absolutely not.
And if Jeff Wilson does come back, I don't know how much it changes the backfield because Miami obviously really loves speed. Yeah. And Mostert and A-Chan have speed. Wilson does not have speed, so I don't know if he changes the backfield much or not. So we'll have to see.
The difference in this game, unfortunately, I know that Mostert's obviously gone off for a big number. Aside from that, it's okay, but it's not great. And quarterback is absolutely the problem here. Is what's bogging Jeff down. And that's the difference really between the win and the loss. Is that Justin Herbert's gone off for 35 points and Lawrence is there for 16. It doesn't matter what Mostert does. And say other skill positions are there or thereabouts. Well, we wrote Miles Sanders off last week a little bit. Some Browns there. Chase finally showing what he's all about. But yeah, just other components that are in there. Say quarterback and special teams, just letting the side down a little bit. Whilst you look on the other side with Viv and you got a big kicker in D score, 30 points between the two of them, which is absolutely brilliant. But as we said, it's that quarterback number. 20 points, give or take, more than Lawrence on the other side, and Tyreek proven absolutely his worth going forward. Into the season so far.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Viv I think he'll continue to be a bit boom and busty, just as we know by the nature of the team. But certainly, as you say, this team is good with some special players there. Only McLaurin and Horn are really performing on the day. But so that's it for this game. So we'll go on to the next game then, which was Bedednators against Hey Doug, which is Ross's new iteration of his team. Obviously, Ollie was undefeated heading into this one. Meanwhile, Ross was defeated heading into this one, and that stayed the same. Ollie takes this one 115 to 92, and nailed it. I got the lock in this one, and we both picked, and you picked the Detonators as well. So we're starting off this.
We're doing really well.
3-0 so far. And I have a question for you. Does Ollie live in an apartment in St Albans that's built on an Indian burial ground?
Always. Again, I keep saying that today. Always. It has to be something like that because it's just like, what on earth?
Yeah, Mike Williams. At least he put up the points before he left, 18 here, and helped get him the win. But another player for Ollie. Lost for the year with a season-ending injury, so not great. Again, kind of seeing the dichotomy. Adams, there was some fears with Jimmy G, arguably the worst quarterback of his career. People weren't really sure how good this Raiders team would be. Could he still be special? Turns out, yes. I thought that would be the case, and he has absolutely still been special. He's obviously picked up the slack, key to this victory here as well. What else have we got? Swift again. He appears to be a solid player after that week 1. You know, you're thinking, God, he could be a guy that could potentially be cut by this point, but obviously Kenneth Gainwell missing a game maybe paved the way for him to reclaim that role, and that's exactly what he's done. So you like to see that. It's obviously something Ollie needed to happen really to solidify the team. But on the other side again, Nico Collins, he obviously had that really nice week 2, but then he got tanked in week 3.
Very much.
We don't know who. You know, is there a changing of the guard there? Is it going to be these guys rotate? It's tough to say at this time, and obviously Ollie's team is, you know, Jerome Ford's going to be, again, he could be a guy that really pays off. Doesn't get much yardage on the day, 2 touchdowns, 17 points on the bench, but you like to see it. But beyond that, Ollie's team, understandably, there's not much depth there anymore.
It's there now, yeah.
So Kyron again dominating the touches, but I think he's just kind of proving that, you know, he is just kind of a jag. He's not a particularly talented running back. It's all about the volume with him, and obviously the Bengals are a slightly tougher matchup there on the day as well. So moving to the other side of the board. I didn't do the matchup history, sorry. Ollie is now 6-8 all time against Ross's team.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, for Ross's team, like, I'm surprised because
I was going to say,
you know, it's one of those ragtag teams that we've seen a lot this season. Well, we've certainly written off a lot. But on the day, not that many touchdowns, but a lot of reasonable yardage totals. You look there, 111 for Diggs, 90 for Kittle. So Kelsey's got his touchdown. Watson actually had a decent day at quarterback there. Decent from the kicker and defense. Again, a couple of skill positions in there, just not quite clicking.
No.
But getting to above 90 points with that team, I think is pretty good.
I think so, yeah. Tight end FC did get bailed out by the special teams a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, you're right. Considering Andrews and Higgins did virtually nothing in this game. Yeah, that's not a joke team. Like absolutely, we said last week that it's not a joke team, that they can actually still compete. And let's not forget as well that they're going to be getting Jonathan Taylor back from week 5. We don't exactly know what that's going to look like, because he obviously doesn't want to play for the Colts again, but ultimately, you know, NFL players don't really have a choice, certainly not with the collective bargaining agreement with where it's at. So, yeah, you know, he's going to be in the hole from a wins-losses perspective by that point, but, you know, he could certainly be a disruptor across the rest of the season, potentially, for sure.
Absolutely.
Little depth as well, much like Ollie's team. But we'll go on to the next game then, which was Gridiron Gang against Bucking the Trend. So we saw last week that, I'd still yet to get a win against Mike 0-5 all time. This was the Waypoint Bowl as well, and that was a founder bowl, by the way. But Gridiron Gang finally does get their first win against Bucking the Trend. I was 1-1 coming off my first win of the season. Mike was still searching for his first one, so he drops to 0-3. But yeah, I take this one 121 to 99, obviously bring the record to 1-5 in favour of Mike. Now, we both picked my team in this one as well, so we're off to a perfect 4-0, and all I have to say is fuck you, Seattle Seahawks, for ruining my royal flush. The only team to dip below 10 points for me, with 4 points, but en route to that 121. So
it was on.
It was on. And I'm up to my usual shenanigans of just going through the absolute trash pile and picking out guys like Tank Down 2-2 who absolutely came up trumps
somehow, somewhere have come up with points. But I mean, a great week for you. I mean, say if you want the most solid of solid weeks, you've seen it there. That is as solid as you get for 121 points.
Yep.
We see people's totals all over the place with that sort of total of points sometimes, but that is what you're looking for every week and twice on Sundays. Whilst Mike somehow managed to limp his way to 99 points, this is what we call a sandwich week, people. It's when your QB does well, your defense and kicker does well, and everything else in the middle doesn't really work.
What did his skill positions amount to? They combined for less than 30 points. I'm just looking there, 15.7.
Maybe less than 20.
From Josh Reynolds, 19.7, 20.5. He got 25.7 points, I think, from his entire skill position troop. None of them got injured either, which makes that even more.
That was pretty unbelievable. And on the bench, it was just as anemic, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So, not ideal day for Mike, but did rack the points up again, and he's still the most scored against team in the league.
Yep. Again, there's no, I don't think, any really bad teams in the LS. All of the teams have at least something going for them. And like you say, Monk's been doing fairly well so far. Just been unfortunate in the teams he's played. We kind of said it before as well. He just has the feel of a team that it's never going to all come together in 1 week together. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be the case. But could still make some noise, absolutely. Because just going back to my team, you talk about it, as complete as you want. I wasn't even at full health in this one because I didn't have Jalen Waddle or David Montgomery, which is obviously what led to me having the Tank Dell and Atwell sports starts as well. And you kind of say it again on Mike's side, to obviously had some sins there, and I mean, he 70 points in his quarterback only gets 36 points only.
Yeah, crazy. So but Tua's legit, and Mike's seen that for a couple of years, and he's reaped the benefits. So, so yeah, I think that for as long as he's healthy this year, and it seems as though that's not going to necessarily be a question, then long may it last.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go on to the penultimate game of the week, which was unfortunately the worst one on the docket and did involve you, Chris. And unfortunately, it was the only one so far, at least, we didn't get in the pick'em because we both picked your team, but you lost against UR Gold, who were 2-0 entering this one. You're obviously searching for your first win, still 0-2. UR Gold takes it 88-62. Chris, like you say, again, really, Kirk Cousins absolutely saved your blushes a little bit because he accounted for over half your team's score with the 32 points. But again, at the start of the season, at any point, if you look at your running back roster, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, I know you didn't play Damian Pierce in this one, but he's on the bench as well. You think a team with those three running backs, how are you 0-3? How are you picking up 62 points? And here we are somehow.
Yeah. Somehow. Plus, I like my receivers. I like Ridley. I like Lockett.
Oh God. Yeah.
And with Ayuk and Dobbs on the bench to come.
Ayuk was obviously injured as well.
Absolutely.
One, yeah.
So Michael Thomas is there too. So there's guys who can contribute, but just not all contributing together. And we've seen for the first couple of weeks it's been all right, and then it just fell off the cliff. Yeah. But I'd rather it fall off the cliff all in 1 week. And then
it comes back in another.
Absolutely.
Your team is so better than this, like you say.
For sure. Whilst you are gold, we talked about having a royal flush a minute ago. Well, he was nearly there. But, and this team's skill positions are good.
Yeah.
This team's skill positions are good, and you wouldn't want to come against them every week. But please, again, this is an ongoing thing. Change your quarterback. It's time. Doesn't matter which one of your quarterbacks it is. Both of them on your team aren't very good. That's it. Yeah. Justin Fields sucks. Well, he doesn't suck, but his O-line sucks. His team sucks. Yeah. Russell Wilson, his team sucks too. Go and find someone on the waiver wire. There's loads of them out there that are going to do better every week.
You just wait till we get to the waiver section.
Here we go.
We're going to see that, exactly. But in the meantime, he's doing his best Tyson Fury impression still, obviously, is Ollie Gardner-Beddoes. Brandon Metcalf looked better, obviously helped this week, certainly, and Connor continues to look solid as well with a Cardinals team that's definitely a lot more plucky than people thought they would.
Absolutely.
Tony Pollard's legit, and again, he's got the bench was a bit thin for Ollie, but Quentin Johnson obviously looks in a bit of a different light now with the Mike Williams injury as well. So there we go. And then we get to the last game of the week, which is Tom's Tyrants against Pakistan. Again, Pakistan, one of the undefeated teams at 2-0 so far. Tom, I think, was coming off his first win. Yeah, he must have been. Pat takes it though. He stays undefeated. So all three of the undefeated teams entering the week stay undefeated, and I believe all three of the winless teams did as well. Funny that, because I don't think they all played each other either. Pat takes it 104 to 69. Sorry, I didn't do the history of your game against UR Gold either. So Forge you are now 5-4 against Ollie, so he narrows it a bit. And Tom's Tyrants against Pakistan. Tom is now 5-6 all time against Pat, so Pat takes the lead in the series there. And we finished off the week nicely because we both picked Pat to win this one. And Chris, you locked up Pakistan, so you get your lock as well. Yeah. So I think that is your first lock win of the season as well, because you skipped week 2.
Indeed, I don't know how I skipped week 2. I completely forgot.
Easily done. Too much analysis. Yeah. Tom is Schrodinger's fantasy team. Discuss.
Listen, well, it's certainly boom and bust. I mean, you see last week he's put up 120 points or whatever it was, or 120 plus point week with the same team pretty much, and then there's 70 points. It's crazy. It's a crazy up and down. Keenan Allen's legit though. Look at that, 215 yards with even without a touchdown. And that's only going to continue going up now.
I was going to say, I wrote this down. He's making a candidacy not to only to be only a wide receiver one, but potentially to be the wide receiver one. So Kellen Moore loves, making a focal point receiver, as we saw with CeeDee Lamb. So, and with a quarterback like Justin Herbert as well.
Yeah. Baker was a flyer play. I mean, he was on the fence about that.
To be fair,
to the end,
I never thought he'd say it, but he a good choice on Baker because the alternative was Burrow, and he got 4 more points from it. So it was the right call.
That's good. Yeah, it would have been even worse. But we mustn't dwell on it too much. I think it was. Again, not a great week for Tom, but again, it's what happens with that team. It is up and down. As for Pat, he's got 2 excellent players that he's just going to ride all year, and that's Jefferson and Kenneth Walker. Wow. Yeah. They've turned up again. I mean, Pat hasn't got a quarterback. Well, he didn't have a quarterback because Dak Prescott came in, did middling to okay.
Did the job. It's fine.
So put him across. Olave came in and scored 104 yards. So 10.5 points, decent. Saying and to the supporting cast, they're kind of propped it up, but nothing overly special. I think that Pat's team is going to be sneaky good. Yeah. And he refuses to play Zach Moss on the bench.
He's not going to have many opportunities.
Absolutely.
Either,
so take it while it comes because that sort of production is pretty unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of surprised he didn't play because Kelly's been ass, and the Ravens matchup is not a daunting one, and we know that the Colts actually on offense haven't been bad so far. Yes, they had Gardner Minshew, but so we'll see what Pat does this week. What else did I write down here? Tom's skill position play. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, I don't even think they're startable at the minute. I think Drake London is exactly what we thought he was, and exactly what I thought DeAndre Hopkins would be as well, unfortunately, because you just see those run-heavy offenses. It doesn't matter if you're a number 1 receiver. It doesn't matter how talented you are. And Drake London and Hopkins are both very talented, but the situation just isn't there. The volume isn't high enough. It's just not conducive. Obviously, they're going to have decent weeks here and there, but good luck predicting when. And Garrett Wilson is just plain not playable. He completely fluked, I think it's fair to say, with some great plays by Garrett Wilson himself, by the way, scoring decent scores in week 1 and 2, but it's completely overcoming worst.
Well, until they replace that quarterback, until they replace Zach Wilson with an adult.
And they signed Trevor Siemian, which hilariously is seemingly an upgrade, I think.
He may play. This isn't crazy to say that he may play. I don't know. It's such a sad for the whole Jets organisation. It just sucks so much.
And again, just going back to Tom City, Brian Robinson was obviously, I think, the RB2 entering this week, but I think again we've kind of seen that he is just going to be a guy that's entirely game script dependent, because if the Commanders aren't in a game or leading, he's just not going to get the work, unfortunately, there. So it's a tough one for Tom. And the Jags team was also a monumentally bad choice. I think you kind of said it about the Jags. The Texans are usually their bogey team. The Jags haven't looked particularly special either so far. So I don't think anyone would have quite predicted that coming on the cards. But Houston's offense actually hasn't been that bad.
It's been pretty good.
It's just Stroud looks legit. So. And you said it as well, Ken Walker, what a draft pick, 4th round pick, I think it was, or on the 4th, 5th turn for Pat. So he's coming through big time. So that is it for the week. So on the week, Chris, we were 5-1 overall with the pick, and obviously got both our locks. So I'm now 75-54 all time. You're 62-39 on the season. I'm 11-7. You're 10-8. And with locks, 12-10 all time for me, 9-5 for you, 2-1. And 1-1 respectively for each of us on the season as well.
Huge! So look at that, we did much better this week.
We did. Look forward to it cratering this week. We'll just finish up with the Around the League stats. The nice, if you ever go on the desktop version, there's like a nice little on the recap thing. They have some Around the League stuff, which is fairly fun just to go through. So you are Golden Pat Sand. Each got wins this week despite not starting a top 15 quarterback. There you go.
That doesn't shock me.
Yep. First round draft picks, that's not so interesting. Only averaged 8.97 points this week. Second rounders put up a higher average, blah, blah, blah. Third rounders put up more, so interesting. Great Scott, he had the highest scoring bench player of the week, and it was the highest scoring player in the entire fantasy spectrum last week as well. Teams in the league have yet to win this in the season when starting the league's top scoring quarterback of the week.
That's crazy.
Quite a statistic. because as you think, usually quarterbacks can obviously put up mega points. But yeah, as you say, pretty curious to think. And teams are only 1-5 this season when they don't throw a passing touchdown. That's not entirely surprising. Pat was projected to win by the widest margin of the week, 20.58, and they topped that with 35.56 margin of victory. Bare Necessities obviously had the highest score of the week at 126.58. And that was the third highest score, a weekly score in the league so far this season. And then lastly, Bedetnes have now beat their projections by a higher percentage than anybody else in the league this week because they put up 114.88 when they were only projected 74.4.
Well,
so
quite a difference.
Yeah, so those are the fun little stats there. We will go on to the league news now. So let's find the jingle for that. I need to look into some podcast software to play jingles at a whim, apparently, because they take ages to load. I don't know why.
I know.
And they don't. I used to open them all up individually, so I could just hit them. But now it only lets you, when you open one, it closes the one that you have, but like overlaid. Yeah. So
Microsoft. What
pain in the ass. I know. Terrible. So yeah, league news wise, injury wise, key injuries. Just the one on the week was Mike Williams that we spoke about before. Bedetne is losing that ACL, so I don't think we need to go into that too much. He's been decimated. Obviously, Williams profit to be a decent player for him, but he's still going. We'll see how long that lasts. Obviously, when we get into the bye weeks, he's going to be feeling the impacts of those injuries.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. So we'll go straight into the transactions then, of which there are a few interesting ones. So we'll start off with, was he the prized? Yeah, he was the prized ad of the week. The most expensive one, $15. Where's it gone? That's the wrong direction, Nathan. So it was the Dream Team. They added Josh Palmer for Kadarius Toney and $15 on the way. I didn't bid on him, so I don't know what the other bids on this one were. But $15 for Josh Palmer, Chris, seems like a fair gamble.
I think at this stage, say without spending a great deal of money so far, I think getting rid of Kadarius Toney is probably worth $15 to be honest. And yeah, Josh Palmer's going to absolute number 2 there in what is going to be a pretty high scoring offense, I think, this year.
Absolutely.
They're going to get a lot of games. They've also got a good QB.
Yep.
An interesting offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I think it's a great pick at this time of the year.
It's a good speculative one because he's not going to step into the Mike Williams role. Quentin Johnston will do that. But there's kind of been questions about how good actually Quentin Johnston is. Obviously, they're babying him long. He wasn't good enough to obviously beat out Josh Palmer for his spot on the depth on the depth chart and in the lineup anyway. So, like you say, we've seen Josh Palmer step in with Chargers when the receivers have gotten injured before, because it's quite a common occurrence, and he's been done quite well. Obviously, certainly if Keenan Allen, obviously as well, heaven forbid, was to get any injuries, he's a guy that's obviously had his injury issues historically as well. He'd obviously step into an even bigger workload. So yeah, I think it's a good add by Viv there as well. We also saw, talking about the You Are God's quarterback conundrum, well, he's dropped Russell Wilson and he's got the man Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant himself. $5. We don't really care about the money. It's not about the money with this one, but the addition of Brock Purdy. So
not shocked by the fact that he's on a team, by the way.
Should be, yeah. I was quite surprised no one drafted him.
Absolutely. Because, again, if you watch the game, especially the back end of last season, he looked great. And then you look again this season and he looks great again. Yeah. And he's mobile and he's got everything you kind of want. So, yeah, I think that's much better than either of the two QBs on that roster. And I'd be amazed if he's not going to start him this week.
Yeah, I agree. My strategy for last year when Allen was on his bye week was just take the Niners quarterback, which was Jimmy G at the time, because Kyle Shanahan is proven he can just take assistant quarterback and absolutely, squeeze every drop out of them in terms of their playing ability. And in that offense, he doesn't ask them to do too much. So they're pretty much a lock for around 20 points a week. Obviously, they need either a couple of touchdowns and some yardage, or a touchdown and a bit more yardage. But yeah, it gets in there. So yeah, it's a good addition. I agree. We had an oddly high spend this week on Elijah Mitchell by my dad, who dropped Dalvin Cook. He spent $11 on Elijah Mitchell. I'm scared. Does he know something I don't?
Indeed. So I'm terrified the fact that Elijah Mitchell is one on a roster and two that someone's relying on him, because he's one of the more injury prone guys out there, and I know that he's in that offense, and if anything happens to Christian McCaffrey, he's the man. But I wouldn't, even if he was the man, he wouldn't last more than a week.
Yeah, no.
You just know what he's about at this point, and that's injuries.
We did see some pre-draft reports saying, it could be like a Bijan, Tyler Algier situation, or like, Devin Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs, that kind of, where he could get enough work to be flex-worthy. We've not really seen that so far. Like you say, he is more a pure handcuff at this point, so I'm pretty sure nobody else bidded on him, and if they did, certainly wasn't for $11. And then the last one, we're seeing a bit more of draft capital dropped here, because Dalvin Cook as well, of course, was some reasonable draft capital. Darren Waller as well, who was a mid-round pick, he's now been axed for Sam Laporta for $2 as well. So we're obviously starting to see the draft capital go, because we saw Traylon Burks get dropped as well. But understandable this far into the season.
Indeed.
So that's it for that. Standing stats and milestones. So no milestones this week, so we'll just go over the standings and stats. So Southampton division still has 2 undefeated teams at 3-0. You are Golden Pakistan. They are 2 and 3 seed, leading that up, and they are 2 ahead of the Tom Tyrants, who are 1 and 2. And Chris, you Forge Flyers, searching for your first win at 0 and 3. Portsmouth division still tied at the top there as well, 2 and 1 with the Dream Team and Bare Necessities, with the Dream Team taking it on points, and then Ixan and Great Scott 1 behind at 1 and 2. And then the Winchester division, again, Bedernators, they still lead the league at their 3 and 0 with the most points forward out of the other 3 and 0 teams. Gridiron Gang, they're at 2 and 1 in that division, again 2 ahead of the other 2 0 and 3 teams that are in the league, bucking the trend. And Hey Doug, from points perspective, let's sort it by the overall, just so maybe we can see it a bit more cleanly. Can we actually? Even better, we can sort. I never knew you could do that. Happy days. The Dream Team is currently the highest scoring team on the season so far with 316, but you can see there are a handful of teams that aren't too far behind. 4 teams all in all that are over 300 points. But Detonators, Gridiron Gang, and Ixan joining the Dream Team. There, Ixan's a surprising one given the injuries, but fair play to Ben. And then even then, the Ben Necessities are only just behind that at 298. In the 5th high scoring team position. Looking at the other side of that, Hey Doug, Ross's team 239 at the bottom, not entirely surprising. Your team, Chris, 255. We will come on to your coach score in a bit, because you certainly could be in that 300 range. And then there's obviously some middle ground teams there. In terms of points against, we'll start with the highest, why not? Yeah, Bucking the Trend has absolutely been trucked so far. 0 and 3, 275, so points forward wise not too bad, but yeah, 359 points against, holy moly. 120 points a week, obviously that works out too. So ridiculous. They've been scored on. To be fair to Ross as well, obviously he's the lowest scorer, but he's also received a fair amount of points against him. 327 as of you, Chris at 325. Obviously a large part of the reason you're 0 and 3 as well.
Yep.
Ben as well. He's 1 and 2. Obviously, he was one of the 4 teams to be over 300 points scored, but 323 points against, and same with Jeff really as well, 271 scored and 308 against. So there's some reasons for that. And then you get to the bottom, and what a surprise! All 3 of the 3-0 teams have the lowest points against.
There you go. There's a correlation here.
And you are Gold, the only team to concede less than 200 points. He nearly has half the points that Mike has conceded against.
That is
197.
Absurd.
Oh, Tyson Fury. You need to change your team logo to Tyson Fury, I think, at this point.
Just unbelievable.
And change your team name while you're at it, I think. And Pat's obviously not far behind that, really, as well. He's only just over 200 with 205 there.
It's like 65 points a week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally 66 points a week, effectively.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, just so we usually see these teams get found out, but we also see these weird trends that seem to carry through the season, like we saw with Nigel in seasons past. So who knows, really, do we? Looking at the breakdown, but that is at the top there, despite the low breakdown. Obviously, the low points against, they have obviously been scoring quite well. So 23 and 10. Right on the heels is me at 22 and 11, and then Bare Necessities, the Dream Team at 20 and 13. Ixan not far behind at 18 and 15. Then you get at the middle ground. So bucking the trend, obviously, as we saw, the 0 and 3, one of the 0 and 3 teams, but 15 and 18. So their record there definitely not bad. But yeah, again, we have 2 of the undefeated teams that you are Golden Pakistan at 15 and 18 and 14, 19 apiece as well. So they're obviously punching above the mean, so to speak. We do have one distant last place, which is obviously Ross's team here at the moment with 726. But as we say, we do like it more than kind of the stats show. But on a given week, they are typically one of the lowest scorers as we've seen so far. Coach rating, I had a perfect week last week, which is the second one I believe we've seen this season yet. Mike had one in week 2 as well. I have only left 3.8 points on the bench so far. Injuries have been a play of that, as well as a bit of a prospective bench, but you've still got to get it right. Obviously, I had some gutsy streams last week. I have a stat for you, Chris. Chris, you have left 91.66 points on your bench after a further 21 points last week.
Excellent.
You have left 2,418% more points on your bench than I have this season.
That is the stat of the week. Get the klaxon out, fellas. Get the
Oh,
klaxon
here we go.
out.
I've got the klaxon. Here it is.
So this is definitely it. There it is. That is mad. That is mad.
I mean, I've got extraordinarily low points on my bench so far for the reasons that I said. The next closest isn't too far away, really, in real terms.
Feel my depth, is what I can say. Feel my depth.
Ben's got 16.5 on the bench through the season. Then you are gold. Again, talk about squeezing every drop. Only 21 points on the bench yet. 3-0, and obviously not one of the highest scoring teams. And then there's obviously not too much more interesting in the middle ground. To be fair, Jeff isn't too far off you, really. He's left 64 points, although a large portion
47 of that was last week.
Yeah, HN. So, yeah. Throw that all together, and you get the true score. I am leading up the true power rankings at the moment, apparently.
And I am last.
And you are
Don't
last.
listen to us. Look at this. That is what you should say. Do not listen to a word of what we got to say, because one of us knows what we're talking about, and one of us doesn't. This season, anyway.
So we've got some of the playoff teams obviously at the top, but then as you are gold. Obviously, this is based on record points for breakdown and coach score as well. So not all of those things necessarily translated to things that matter. But there you go. That's it for standing stats and milestones. In terms of trade block, nobody has anyone on the trade block that I know about at the moment. Anyway, wait for the power rankings to land. Tom should be writing those this week, hopefully, and they should come out at some point. And then, other than that, we'll just go on to debate corner, of which we need John. John, where are you, John?
Order.
Thank you, John. He's telling Rishi Sunak that banning 20-mile-per-hour speed limits just to win votes is a deplorable thing to do.
I think implementing 20-mile-hour speed limits in the first place is equally deplorable, to be honest with you, Nate.
True. Yeah.
As well as, and I'm going to get just a little bit just here. So, as is implementing a low emission zone around London, which takes away the poorest people's cars, replacing them with.
Yeah.
It only helps the motor trade. It only helps people who have got the means to do so.
Yeah.
And it affects the poorest of all the people. And it's a Labour, and I repeat, a Labour mayor. So don't trust anything that the Labour mayor has to say, or indeed the Labour Party has to say, because they'll just go back on it.
Starmer is not much better. I completely agree with
Absolutely. You cannot be a knight of the realm and call yourself a socialist. It's not on.
I think the whole thing, like, the problem with the ultra low emission zone is, like, a lot of people misconstrue it as, like, oh, it's an environment thing. It's not an environmental thing. It's about air quality.
It is, yeah.
So it's it's still a thing that obviously we know London's had its smog problems and things like that. But if you again, the marketing on it's so bad, like you say, and everything. It's anyway.
I get it for a certain period of certain places there, but anything on the outskirts.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to because when you drive to Ben's and Merton, in why is that all a 20? Like that's nowhere near central London. They can't have a problem with it.
That's right.
It's crazy, isn't
absolutely
it? Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to get that's debate corner over now.
Yeah, that's debate corner. We've run out of time for the actual debate corner, which was going to be most likely team 0-3 team to fight back and make the playoffs.
None of us.
So we have
none of us. We're all together.
I didn't say will one. I said most likely.
Oh, okay.
So 0-3 teams, Forge Flyers, bucking the trend in Hey Doug. Most likely, I think we can exclude. Sorry, Ross. We can exclude Ross's team from this. If John Taylor's legit and the Titans actually come through, there's a sliver of chance they could maybe sniff playoffs with a wild card or something. But beyond that, probably not. No, it's going to be one of yours or Mike's team. In overall points, because we have the points forward wildcard, I think you're not too far off that at the moment, actually, because if we look at the playoff seeding, so at the moment, those three at the top make it by way of division or the traditional wildcard, then Viv is the division lead as well. I am currently the holder of the highest points for wildcard at 302. But you're not too far off that. You're only 30-40 points I think between you off that, so that's obviously firmly still in play that at this early juncture. I would add on as well, we've talked about Pat and Ollie Gardner Beddoes overcoming not having to overcome much points scored against them, so that's got to change at some point. I would say you would be the most likely one to come back and make playoffs, Chris, because you've obviously got the points potential and I think fair to say the easier division than Mike.
I think that's probably right, and I've got players that just aren't playing. So I at least didn't last week.
Yeah, the points are on your bench, exactly. So,
there's so much more potential out of that team, and you're right. Yeah, the division's weaker. Mike's been absolutely scored against, as have I. To be fair, we've both been scored against pretty heavily in the first 3 weeks. But yeah, I think division-wise, Ollie and you're in a great position. And it's going to be really difficult to kind of fight his way back from there.
Yeah, it's a wild card for him.
I've got the ultimate boom and bust teams above me.
Indeed.
Ultimate. All three of them are boom and bust.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's it for this week's Debate Corner. Thank you, John. So, yeah, we'll go on to the Week 4 previews now. So, on the docket for the Week 4 previews, and obviously we've had the Thursday night game as well. We have Gridiron Gang against Hey Doug, which is Ross's team. So, it's another divisional week. That's a Founder Bowl, and we'll call it the D&D Bowl because we both play in the same D&D group. He's also owned 3, so still searching for his first win. Pat Astan versus Forge Flyers. Again, that's a case of a defeated team facing an undefeated team. Tom's Tyrants against UR Gold, which is the Winchester Bowl, and obviously features one of the undefeated teams. Ben Necessities versus the Dream Team. That's a tussle for supremacy in the Portsmouth division. Great Scott against Ixan. And bucking the trend against Badenes, which is again undefeated versus defeated. Which way do you want to go this week, Chris?
We're going for a bowl game. I think we're going for a bowl game, and we are going for the Winchester Bowl this week.
There we go, like it. So the Winchester Bowl, which confusingly does not involve the Winchester division anymore. But no, that's the marquee matchup then. So Tom's Tyrants against UR Gold. Tom's Tyrants vs UR Gold in this week's Week 4 marquee matchup. It's a case of an undefeated team looking to keep up in terms of division races. They have a fellow undefeated team vying for the lead as well versus Tom's Tyrants, who's looking to give them their first L. Would overtake them with a win as well, based on the points as well in the division. But he'd get back to 2-2 and obviously pull potentially close to the division lead. Tom's Tyrants currently have the projected lead in this one, win in this one, 90 points to 86. And UR Gold has 5.6 points on the board. Looking down the lineups, Tom's Tyrants returns to the starting lineup. Joe Burrow returns to Tom's Tyrants starting lineup for Baker Mayfield hitting the bench. And then in terms of skill positions, he has brought in Adam Thielen, I believe, in favour of George Pickens. He's also brought in James Cook in favour of Garrett Wilson, so he's rocking the 20 personnel this week. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers on the other side of the board. Brock Purdy is in the starting lineup for UR Gold, rightfully pushing Justin Fields to take a seat on the bench and have an examination of what he's doing with his life. And then elsewhere, skill position-wise, Sam Laporta was in the lineup and got the 5.6 points on Thursday Night Football, dropping Jordan Addison to the bench, unchanged beyond that. So he's going with 21 personnel, 2 running backs, a tight end, and 2 wide receivers. The history of this matchup all time, Tom's Tyrants is UR Gold's there. UR Gold is 5-6 against Tom's Tyrants all time, so it's a fairly close series all in all. Chris, is this the week UR Gold finally gets found out, or not?
Well, it's different. Do you know what? This is the reason why I picked this is that this is one of the hardest games to call, I think, because you have UR Gold, who seem to be turning everybody into stone, everybody, and Tom's Tyrants, who come in just like up and down. I've never seen a team I think start the way that they have so far. But you look down there and you think, why are you playing Sam Laporta over Addison? Like, come on. Like
against Carolina, Yeah,
do me a favour. Jordan Addison's been really good. He didn't have a very good week last week, but you're really going to play he's an exciting wide receiver. You're going to play just a rando tight end for Detroit over him. He did, and he's only got 5 points. So on that base, he deserves to lose. But look, to me, I don't particularly like some of these matchups. Steelers versus Houston, we've seen how defense just got striped by Houston so far this year. I don't think that's going to be nearly as effective as you'd think. Connor and Pollard playing against very tough defenses. I know that they're playing at home against New England, but if there's one thing that New England have been able to do this year, he's been able to stop the run. The same thing with San Francisco and San Francisco.
Connor's been good, but he's not overcoming.
He's not overcoming that. No way.
Yeah.
Metcalf's still a bit banged up. Really good matchup against the Giants, and then
East Coast, West Coast though.
He is though, but the Giants suck so bad.
They do suck. I agree.
They're so bad, but I want to see how Brock Purdy gets on. AJ Brown against the Commanders would be great. Look, Brock Purdy against the Cardinals is the punt of the week. I think. I like the fact that somebody's starting him, and I think that in that matchup where they're going to see a lot of offense, I think that he's going to do well. But are you telling me that he's going to try and overcome Joe Burrow on the other side, who's playing in Tennessee?
They ain't running that game. Joe Mixon, we know he's not particularly talented at this point in his
absolutely
career. They're not a great running offense. As long as his calf's fine, they're just going to dunk on Tennessee.
They've been striped. Tennessee have been striped all year, in various ways, but mainly through the air. So I think this is an absolute Joe Burrow game. And then you look down the list. Keenan Allen, as we said, playing a very, very suspect Raiders team. Thielen playing Minnesota, who have always been conceding points this year. Drake London playing Jacksonville in London. Weird game, weird environment. Nobody really knows what's going on there. But again, Jacksonville have been suspect on defense. And then you go Cook against Miami. Could be an absolute track meet. And then Washington playing Philly. Yeah, I'm not so keen. Broncos versus Chicago. If there's one team to play them against, it's probably that as well. So I think there Tom Tyrants has a much stronger option because those skill positions that he's got are playing in much, much better matchups. Whilst on the other side, you are gold. He's got to hope that Brown and Metcalf come through, that somehow Connor gets some garbage yards because he's going to have to, and the pod doesn't get bottled up. But for me, I think that UR Gold's luck is running out this week, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if then Tom goes and scores 50 points.
Sure. Who are you picking?
Oh, I'm picking Tom's Tyrants.
Yeah. No, that's all fair. Yeah, a couple of other points that I've got on it. I think we covered off the ones for UR Gold. For Tom's, Joe Burrow, he should feast as long as that calf holds up. Like you said, Keenan Allen could dominate that Vegas secondary. Adam Thielen, it's a revenge game. Don't forget it's a revenge game because he's playing Minnesota.
True that.
So he could have a blow up, and he's been pretty good actually so far. I don't think I ever saw that. I think Bryce Young's going to be back, but I mean still, it's
Even Van Gold's there.
Tom's going to get the pleasure of watching Drake London play in London, obviously against Jacksonville, and then like you said, some of the solid options there. Broncos. I mean, I'm not in love with playing the defense; they just gave up 70 points, but the matchup is definitely a lot better. So, all in all, I agree. The reign of terror has to end. The Tyson Fury must be stopped. So on that basis, I am locking up Tom Tyrants.
Whoa!
Because I'm not going to go with. I need to pass the mirror test. The other one would probably be my game, but I'm not doing that.
That's bold. That is bold.
So I'm going with the bold one in the marquee matchup. I'm looking up Tom's Tyrants. Here we go. So cool. That's that one done then. So we'll go on to the next game then, which pivots us to the Portsmouth division, which was where I thought you would go with the marquee matchup. To be honest, but it's fine. It's Ben Assessed against the Dream Team. Two of the highest power teams so far this season, Ben Assessed against the Dream Team, have a face-off for being the leader of the Portsmouth division. As both are 2-1, and the winner will obviously be 3-1 and lead up that division. The projections currently say the Dream Team will be that team, 98-89. Looking down the lineups, so for the Dream Team, let's see. I don't believe Viv has changed at the moment, so he's still going with the 20 personnel, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. On the other side of the board for Ben Necessities, I don't think he has changed either, so I don't believe he is. So he's also going with 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers. The history of this matchup all time, their necessities are 11-9 against the Dream Team. And just before I let you go away on this one, Chris, I did not do the injury recap for the last game, so I'll just do that quickly. DK Metcalf, as you said, just a bit of rib soreness, but he should play, and beyond that, I think they're all fine. Burrow's actually not even on the injury report now. I think he was a full participant in practice. So, I thought you would go with the marquee matchup with this one, because leader duking out for the leader of the division, and these two have been probably 2 of the better teams on the season so far.
I'm just a sucker for a bowl game. Just a sucker. I think here is probably what you're right in terms of what could be a bit of a barnstorm, or I think this could well be it. But the reason why I'm a little bit down on the Dream Team this week is that there's some suspect matchups in there, my friend. There's some suspect matchups. Now, Justin Herbert hasn't got a suspect matchup. That is going to be absolutely brilliant for him. And I think Tyreek at this point is matchup proof, but you look at the Bills away and you think to yourself, that just there's one game where it could be derailed a little bit.
It could be more of the Waddle game. He's
Yeah.
probably going to get the Tre'Davious White treatment, who's a very, very good corner. They are without Jordan Poyer, so he's obviously one of their starting safeties. So typically, the way to stop Hill is you bracket him, you slap your best corner on, and then give him over the top help as well with the safety. So, but like you say, will they choose to do that? Also, as you said, Buffalo's a fairly hard place to go, so
Yeah.
that's certainly the hardest test Miami have had
For
so far
sure,
this season.
for sure. Coming off that 70-point week, it's going to be interesting to see how they can kick on.
Yeah.
Lamb and McLaurin have, again, suspect offenses, I would say, at this point. I don't think that Lamb's nearly hit the heights as to what we saw last year. They're still trying to find their way. They don't look nearly as effective this year, and especially playing New England at home. You know, I have my doubts. The same with McLaurin. You say what you want about how good he is and how much Washington have perhaps taken a little bit of a step in the right direction, but playing Philly is a hard work. And then Breece Hall. What do you do with a problem like Breece Hall right now? You know, I think that all of that Jets offense is completely discombobulated.
He can't play. I've got to think that he's just not changed this lineup here.
Yeah.
We can. Yeah, he did waivers, so we know he did waivers.
So,
But it's Gabe Davis, or he could even play Josh Palmer. To be fair,
I think Gabe Davis has been legit. To be fair, the first few weeks he's been all right. And you say Algier against the Jags, maybe in London. That's another one. Etienne is the player on the up here. I think the Jags always play much better in London because people actually give a shit about them here, more so than actually where they're supposed to be from. 49ers against Arizona. Well, I said that Dallas would kick the shit out of them last week. I'm going to temper that a little bit, saying that they're going to be dominant, but they perhaps won't dominate maybe as much as we think. Arizona are significantly better than anyone thought.
Yeah.
What's the other side? A lot of away teams this week, but Lamar, we saw semblance of getting right last week. Debo's not healthy, so there's a big question mark over him.
Yeah.
And then Nakua, Mixon, Williams and Robinson all playing middling to poor teams, I would say. And Bill's playing Miami. Ooh, that's it, challenging on defense there. That is a bold play. Bold play. And even then, there's not a great deal else to turn to on the bench. I assume Hawkinson comes in.
Yeah, it's probably got to be at this point. Yeah.
For Debo.
Or Hollywood, maybe. Hollywood Brown.
But again, I ain't got a problem with that. That's not too bad. For me, it's Dream Team's all about Herbert and Hill.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit the 49ers D. I think that Ben necessity are look a little bit more in those skill positions.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to go for them this week.
Yep. I'm going with Ben necessities as well. I don't really have a lot more to add, to be quite honest. It's just Viv's got a bit of a buzz all week, like you say, Herbert and Hill are fine, but then I pretty much hate everything else that's there, other than the Niners D, of course, and kicker's a kicker. But I think Ben necessities for me as well. Injury-wise, you kind of said it. Samuel's looking very, very iffy. Well, Nakua's still dealing with his oblique, but he'll play. I think Marquise Hollywood-Brown, he got some sort of thumb injury in practice yesterday. It was limited, but because he suffered the injury in practice, so that's definitely one to watch out for. Judy, they're obviously just managing him on his way back from the hamstring injury he suffered in the preseason, but he should be back as well. And Hall, again, full participant, obviously just babying him along from his return from that knee injury. So we'll go on to the next game now then, which is the other Portsmouth Division game. So this is Great Scott against Dixon. Well, it's the last game that's going to give us a definitive winner, or leader, I should say, of the Portsmouth Division. This one's going to give us the definitive loser because both these teams, Great Scott and Ixan, 1 and 2 in the Portsmouth Division. One must win, one must lose. They're both on a 2-game slide, and one of them will be the bottom on a 3-game slide after this one. And the projections say that team is going to be Ben, with Great Scott projected to win 87-79. Not necessarily the most barn-burner score you'll ever see. Taking a look down the lineup, so for Great Scott, 17 points in the bag already from Amon Ross, St. Brown and Jimmy Gibbs, 12 and 5 apiece. Elsewhere lineup-wise, I believe they're unchanged, so they're still going with the 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. For Ixan, let's see here, he returned Aaron Jones to his starting lineup in favour of Christian Kirk, I think. And he is going with the 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Only got 1.4 points there from Aaron Jones, though, on that Thursday night game. There is no history of this matchup, so I'm not even going to say that. So I will just instead hand it over to Chris.
Oh, this is Ben's toughest test here, Nathan. This is Ben's toughest test. I think if you're going to see there's a team implode this week, it could be this.
Yeah.
Say,
he's done a good job of avoiding it. So
he has done really well. But say Jones was completely game scripted last night. They were done at half time, Green Bay, and they did well to come back to 20 points.
He was also on a snap count as well, which certainly didn't help. I was quite surprised because he played Jones, but he didn't play Christian Watson, who again got quite lucky to get the 8.5. But I thought that was a bit of a curious choice because that Detroit run D is nasty.
Yeah.
Coming back from injury, players on their first game back from a hamstring do have a less. The statistics tell you their output is less than it would otherwise normally be. So
we've seen Sutton and Kirk on the bench do well as well in the last couple of weeks. Particularly Sutton, he's definitely been Russell Wilson's favourite target in that offense so far. I mean, I know that there's not a great deal of targets in that offense, but even so, so I'm surprised. I am surprised. I know that it's very tempting and very, you want to get your high picks in there, but. Just doesn't really work in that way. Obviously, Eckler's in the same boat this week.
I think there's another change there, isn't he? Because he obviously didn't play last week, so I think maybe he played Sutton last week as well, dropping him. But yeah, he's got Josh Kelly as well, so if he doesn't play, but Josh Kelly's been trash. So. That's
right. So I wouldn't trust him. But I know the Raiders suck, but that takes that'll take some doing. And then you look at the rest of the team. Well, if there's a game Mahomes might slip on, it is the Jets away. They still have a legit D. You can't argue the fact that their offensive struggles are well known, but their defense is excellent. Mike Evans is going to get the Marshawn Lattimore effect. He just crumbles when he sees the sight of that guy, and especially away from home in the Superdome's a hard place to go.
Definitely.
And Jacoby Myers is neither here nor there for me. Matson has
the ghost man. This is the game I think where Cam Akers is active, and it's probably a split backfield. I don't think they can. Breaks my heart. I love the guy, but no, I think he's done.
Yeah, and then Saints D is all right. So I think it's just all right. I think that that Mahomes, he's going to have to hope that Mahomes, the Saints D, and Evans somehow breaks the Marshall Lattimore lock.
I think I'd actually prefer the Bucs D in this game, and I'm pretty sure they're out there at the moment, just because Jameis is obviously playing.
Yeah, he's pick. Yeah, get him out there. So what can I say? If Ben can score above 80, I think he'll be doing well.
He's got that streak. Me and him still 80 points. Or more since the 2021 season.
Well, he's going to have to keep going on that this week because it's going to take some doing.
A week.
On the other side, to have a 16-point head start in a game like this where it probably fashions to be a little bit tight is excellent. Obviously, we see an interesting play of the Jets D versus Mahomes and vice versa. So they can go one of two ways. Lawrence plays, as we said earlier on. I'm going to stick to my guns and die on a hill for this. Is that the Jags play way better in London than they do when they play in Florida, and I think Lawrence elevated himself last season. Was the first game he really elevated himself above last season when he played in London. I think he's going to do the same thing again this time. The conditions will be helpful. Here it's obviously a lovely day. If you're listening to us, I don't know how you're listening to us, but if you are listening to us and you're not in the UK, it's unseasonably warm for late September, so that's going to go in their favour. We saw Chase have a bit of a comeback, and we spoke about Tennessee's problems a little while ago. So Mostert coming off that massive performance, still in that high-powered offense. We're not going to see as many points this week, obviously, but that offense is still legit. I'm not going to write Miles Sanders off again because he keeps coming back with fantasy relevant scores. And then kicker, as we spoke about earlier, kicker and defense. So I think Great Scott, they've had sneaky good scores over the last 3 weeks. They're due a win, another win. And I think Ben's on the ropes this week. He really is. To say without Eckler and Jones, and he's obviously, I'd say without Eckler and Jones, Jones has played, but he's carrying 1.4 points. Who cares? Yeah. Then yeah, for me it's Great Scott.
Yeah, no, I think so for me as well, because I think Eckler probably not going to play all the snaps even if he plays, and then if he doesn't, Kelly's not a great option either, really. So yeah, like you said, Chase is going to run ragged in that Titans secondary. Mostert obviously isn't going to do what he did last week. Buffalo, hard place to go. The run D isn't necessarily too vaunted, but that game just has a feel of like the shootout kind of aerial duel. So he needs, I think, to probably fall in the end zone once or twice to have a decent day. But beyond that, like you say, it just looks nicer for Jeff's team. So yeah, I'm going with Jeff as well. Injury-wise, Miles Sanders, I'm not exactly sure what his injury is, but he'll be fine. Zay Jones, he's been ruled out already. And yeah, Eckler, he's trying to come back from that ankle injury, but very, very iffy at the moment. So we'll go on to the next game now then, which is Bucking the Trend against Bedetonators. It's a 0 bowl because Bucking the Trend at 0-3 take on Bedetonators at 3-0, and the projections say it's going to continue having zeros on either side of the board for them, with Bedetonators projected to win it 91 to 80 points. Looking down the lineup for Bedetonators, obviously Mike Williams comes out of the lineup after suffering his season-ending knee injury, bringing Jerome Ford in, so he is going with the 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. On the other side of the board for Bucking the Trend, let's see here, DeAndre Hopkins comes back into the lineup, Matt Breda comes into the starting lineup as well for Josh Reynolds, obviously fresh off that donut last week, and Michael Pittman, so he is rocking the 20 personnel this week, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. The history of this matchup all time, Bedetonators are 2-4 all time against Bucking the Trend. That's all I gotta say. Why is Mike not playing Ezekiel Elliott in the revenge game?
I don't know. I don't know why he's playing Michael Pittman as well, because Anthony Richardson's back this week, and that would be really good. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questionable choices there. Look, the Giants have sucked all year, and Saquon wasn't very effective in that offense. I don't know why Matt Breda would be. I'm quite happy to eat my words on that. But, yeah. Hopkins, Tennessee have got to get it together, because they're in a hole. They can't run the ball, they can't throw the ball, they can't do anything, they just go nowhere. So eventually, and they've got Hopkins, who's one of the better receivers in the league, let's be honest. So to waste that as they have through the first 3 weeks is surprising to me. Devontae Smith is so up and down, again dependent on opponent, but I think Washington maybe all right to turn it around on. So they're going to see a lot of offense. That's one thing you do know. Godwin's going to get many more looks this week. Still a tough matchup, and say if the wheels are going to fall off the wagon, he's talking about it on Miami, then it's going to start with Tua, and it's going to playing away in Buffalo is hard work. So that being said, with Bedetonators, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this could be one of the scarier looking offenses in the league. And I'm not going to say, if you told me at the beginning of the season that would include Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Jerome Ford and Kyron Williams, I'd be absolutely laughing. And the Chiefs D as well this week, by the way, who playing Zach Wilson, and we know those struggles. This is one-way traffic for me, Nath. This is my locked game.
Okay.
Absolutely no way I can see Bedetonators losing this game to those skill positions on Mike's team, and it could be another 100-point plus game. So at least it'll be keeping up appearances for Mike. Sorry, mate.
True. Yeah, like you said, Mike's team definitely isn't the worst by any stretch, but yeah, you look at it, not the best, and yeah, you can just see the things that won't come together, or the aspects of something that won't come together. Matt Breda, he's in a split backfield. Seattle's a fairly good matchup, but yeah, I don't think it matters. Like you said, the Giants have been trash. Jacobs hasn't been bad. Part of that, I mentioned last week, is that they're stacking the box against him unlike last season, and I think also his late return in the off-season program's probably hindered his performance a bit as well. Obviously, working back into football shape, that side will improve, but yeah, we'll just have to see on the rest of that. And yeah, like I said, Godwin's not been great all year long. He's exactly what I thought both the Bucs receivers would be, but obviously Evans has been the one that's kind of pulled through, so I can't see that changing. If there's any week to throw in Zeke, you got to do it for the revenge game narrative. You just love it. It doesn't feel great, especially against the Dallas D. Like you say, Pittman could be a good option as well. But I don't think it ultimately matters. I don't think it's all rosy for Ollie's team. Nico Collins, we'll see what happens there with that. Obviously, they've been putting the ball in the air a lot. I don't think they're going to be able to run on Pittsburgh, so that means they're obviously going to be passing. DeAndre Swift, obviously, he appears to be the set, start running back there, but Philly, as we know, love to rotate running backs and pull shenanigans. Jerome Ford's going to be fine, and then Williams, obviously the Indy run D is pretty stout. I think they've got a good front seven, and he's going to get the volume, but probably not much else. As you say, Chiefs, though, it's a nice matchup there, even if it is in the Meadowlands. But I'm picking Ollie's team as well. Injury-wise, Devontae Smith, I think he has an illness. I don't think he practiced yesterday, but he should be fine for the game. Hopkins, he's just old, so he's fine. But Barkley, he's limited. He could possibly play in this game, it sounds like, but I would say they'll probably give him at another week off. But yeah, one to watch. He's obviously on the Monday night game. On Ollie's side of the ball, Kareem Hunt, he's questionable. I don't know particularly what's wrong with him, but I don't think Ollie's going to play him anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll go on to the next game of the week now, where we go to the other Winchester Division game with Gridiron Gang against Hey Doug. Gridiron Gang takes on Hey Doug here. Gridiron Gang on a 2-game win streak at 2-1, facing off Hey Doug, still looking for their first win at 0-3. They are not projected to get it with the widest projection of the week, 111-79. The reason for that is 32.1 points by Gridiron Gang, already courtesy of David Montgomery erupting on Thursday Night Football. He's back in the lineup for Gridiron Gang, dropping Isaiah Pacheco to the bench. Jalen Waddle also back in, coming off his concussion, dropping Tutu Outlaw to the bench. So Gridiron Gang run with 20 personnel at the moment, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. On the other side of the board for Ross's team, Hey Doug, they are unchanged at the minute, I believe. So he is rocking the 3 personnel again, 3 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. History of this matchup all time, Gridiron Gang is 6-7 all time against Ross's team, so it's fairly split. And this is Founder Bowl, as I say, and the D&D Bowl as well. Chris,
indeed. Now, even without a 32-point head start, and that is helpful. I would have gone for your team anyway.
Thank you.
And you know there are several reasons for this, but I think that skill position wise, you look at just Allen, Cooper, Waddle, McCaffrey, and you throw in a little bit of Tank Dell, and obviously Montgomery's gone off for 32 points. Tank Dell is a flyer, but I mean one of the better flyers that we're going to see in the league this year. Let's be honest. Cooper plays against Watson on the other side. It nullifies that somewhat. There's so much to like, and for me, no matter what Ross would have put up against you, it's tough. It's tough because you've got what I would think is pretty decent matchups there for you.
Mm-hmm.
You used to look down the line. Miami could be a track meet for Josh Allen, McCaffrey against Arizona, Dell against Pittsburgh. And obviously Montgomery against Green Bay, all have been striped this season. Whilst for Ross, Watson's going to get flattened by that Baltimore defense. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, Diggs might do well, but again, Allen's on the other side.
Yeah. There's a couple of nullifies it.
Absolutely nullifies that too. And then you get to the tight ends. Well, Kittle might have a good day. Andrews might have a good day. Kelsey's going to have a tough day. It could be a T. Higgins kind of day, maybe in Cincinnati. But I just don't see him scoring enough points to beat that and say, with 32 points on the board already, I certainly don't. Think that. So it would have been unfair to lock this game, by the way. So I didn't do it, and we both didn't do it.
Exactly.
So
got past that mirror test.
Indeed. So Gridiron Gang all the way.
Yeah, no, I'm picking my team as well. I did think before this game kicked off that I could see an avenue where Ross does win this game if certain things do come together. But like you say, 32 points in the bag from David Montgomery. It's a monumental uphill battle already for Ross's team. For my last skill position, Tank Dell, I kind of spoke to you about it last night. I may not play Tank Dell. He's in the lineup at the moment. Tutu Atwell is probably the other one in consideration against the Colts, and to a lesser extent Isaiah Pacheco, and probably not Roschon Johnson against Denver, but he's there. No, but yeah, he's in there at the moment. So yeah, I haven't really got much else to add on this game. So injury-wise then, Jalen Waddle, he is back. He has now cleared the concussion protocol, so he should play. Obviously, David Montgomery back from his thigh injury. Claim Bell Health. Other than that, Ross's team, Sean Watson, questionable with the shoulder injury, so I think he's been limited, but he should be fine. And then other than that, all good to go. We did have a comment, sorry, I think you've dropped off before I remember to read it. He said... and this was with regards to him playing Laporta over Addison. If the pass pods are anything to go with, Laporta will now score Addison, so thanks. He only got 5.6 points. It's not a great deal to celebrate.
That's not a lot, is it? Let's be honest.
If it's the difference in the week, fair enough. I have a feeling about it.
I think that I would say that the key to your success is not the starting of Addison over Laporta. It's the fact that no one can score against you.
It's true.
Myself included. I'm going to put it out there. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Yeah, there we go. Last game of the week now then, if it goes back to the Southampton division. Pakistan face off against Forge Flyers. We have another 0 bowl with Pakistan at 3-0. Forge Flyers at 0-3. And again, the projectors say it's going to stay that way for each team, with Pakistan projected to win this one 97-87. Looking down the lineups for Pakistan, Russell Wilson, I believe, comes into the lineup this week. I can't remember exactly.
Why?
He replayed last week, but he's gone, whoever he was. And elsewhere, Zach Moss is in the lineup, but at least he heard us there. Dropping. I'm not sure who's Najee Harris, maybe, or Jahan Dobson. Najee Harris, let's go with that to the bench.
And Alvin Kamara.
Oh, Alvin Kamara, sorry. He's off of a suspension. I missed that one. Yeah, of course. And that's, I think, dropping Jahan Dodson all the safe fouls to the bench. So he's got 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 receivers. On the other side of the board for you, Chris, let's see here. So Brandon Ayuk comes into the lineup, as does Romeo Dobbs, in favour of Ramondre Stevenson and AJ Dillon.
Yeah, you got it.
AJ Dillon, yeah. So you are going with the 10 personnel, spread offense, 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. History of this matchup all time. Forge Flyers are 2-7 against Pakistan.
Yeah, the absolute bogey team for me. Always have and always will be. We've also shared some of the closest finishes ever. I think we've had a half-point finish and a 1.5 point finish in the last over the last 4 games, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent start for me. Fired up 9.5 points on Thursday night was okay. I will take that. And yeah, I look down the list there and say, Kirk, I'm going to roll with Kirk again. Because,
they can't run.
Goes on a streak.
They can't run.
They can't. That's it. So playing Carolina, I think, again, say lots and lots of volume through him. And then we got lots of sucky teams. We got, say, Lockett playing the Giants. I know it's going from West Coast to East Coast, but, you know, I'm feeling good about that game. Ridley playing here. And say he'll want to turn it on in front of a packed London crowd. I mean, you know, it will be packed. Derrick Henry has to get going at some point. They have to realise the fact that he is the best defensive weapon that the Titans have got, and they've just got to ride him and do whatever they can to make sure they push him down the field.
Did this happen last year? He had a slow start, and then they got going all of a sudden. And
I don't know what it is, but they seem to forget every year that this guy is a phenomenal player. And they try and be a competent passing offense, and they can't be. And then they realise what they are, which is an absolute run first team, and they put it in his hands, and off he goes. It boggles my mind every year when this happens, as a fan anyway. Ayuk's back playing Arizona, love it. With Debo a bit banged up. In fact, 2 receivers banged up. Then I hope there's going to be some volume there. And then the Cowboys. That week 1 lulled everyone into a false sense of security. The Cowboys might be just a phenomenal unit. Well, they were okay week 2 and then got blown apart week 3. I think that at home against New England they're going to do way better. I think so. They look anemic. They
did, and I think, to be fair to them, they probably had the deflation of Diggs getting injured for the season, and also I think the Diggs injury happened on a Thursday or a Friday, which is kind of fairly far into the week, and obviously you have your game planning and stuff. Yeah. So I think I'm willing to chalk that up a bit, and obviously the offense didn't do them any favours there. So I think, you know, being a fresh week again, they'll get back to what they normally are.
It should be better. On the other side, then you really do look. So so those 3 running backs on paper should be having a field day. I mean, let's be frank. Walker against the Giants, hilarious. Zach Moss has been, you know, obviously very volume dependent, but excellent with what he's been given. And Kamara is a pretty bit of a wild card coming back in, but he's going to be fresh at home playing Tampa, who are beatable, very beatable. Olave's going to have to rely on Jameis throwing to him. I don't think that's a problem because we know how boom and bust that Jameis is. But yeah, if he goes off, he goes off. Justin Jefferson, as we know, playing Cousins on the side, so let's just hope he throws the other way. It's Jordan Addison. The whole game. And I wouldn't trust Russell Wilson as far as I can throw him at the moment, even though he's playing in Chicago. But you know, it has to be a get-right game for Denver, who did get blown out in historic fashion last week.
He's surprisingly not been bad for fantasy. I think he's the QB9 so far on the season.
Yeah, but it's one big week against Washington, so I'm not having that. So I mean, he did all right last week against Miami. He probably got blown out.
Yeah.
That is what it is. So I'm not going to back my team because I've backed my team 3 weeks in a row and they've lost in heartbreaking fashion in all 3 weeks. So I'm going to pick Pat. I think if those running backs can come alive, in fact, if his skill positions come alive in any way, it's going to be 100 points plus. Just what you need to think about it. could be a crazy score.
Yeah, I think this could be a fairly close game because, like you say, Wilson, if he goes off, it's probably going to be Pat's win. You're right, but I could see some avenues here where it's not a brilliant day because Jameis is back. Historically, he's been a bit of a gunslinger, but I don't know, can they slow down the Saints' offense? He's doubling down on some Saints this week, so we'll see there. And then Zach Moss, for as good as he's been, it's still Zach Moss. And then Ken Walker, he's obviously been great as well, but again, it's the whole East Coast, West Coast thing. Can there be something weird that happens there? I don't know. Ravens against Cleveland, I don't know what I think about that. The Ravens are so banged up right now, it's going to Cleveland as well. Historically, they've obviously done quite well against them, but I don't know.
It's a grudge match.
It is. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing from my perspective is you're due a win. You're definitely due a win. Your team is better than 0-3. Dobbs has gotten you off to an okay start, and there's definitely potential for some guys that have been a bit disappointing. Certainly last week, like Lockett and Ridley and Henry, like you say as well. That is a tough matchup for Henry. That's the only worry I have. And obviously, if they fall behind again, then he's kind of taken it out of the game. But I can definitely see the win coming for you. And on the other side, obviously, Pat is 3-0. His team is good, but he has been blessed with the opposition as well. So I think those elements combined to just let me lean towards your side of the ball. So yeah, I'm going to go with you. Injury-wise, as you say, Ayuk's going to be back from his shoulder injury. And then I think beyond that, Anthony Richardson, I think he cleared concussion protocol.
Yeah, he practiced.
But you're still obviously going to be going with Cousins there. So that's it. And that brings us to the end of the podcast. So, I didn't mention the Bare Necessities game as well. My dad's going to get to see Vision Robinson, so that's going to be nice for him.
That's cool.
That's it. So thanks for joining as always, Chris.
Hey, welcome. Yeah. It's very good to be
here. Best of luck. Sorry, before I do that, you can't watch the games of mine on this Sunday because I'm going to the game as well, obviously. So a few weeks off from that, unfortunately. But after all the games are done, you're obviously welcome again. So all the stuff to say beyond that then is best of luck. Have a good weekend. Best of luck in your matchups, unless you're playing me, of course. Goodbye.